Mike Levin and Josh Lowitz are co-founders of Consumer Intelligence Research Partners. I always love talking to you two. I will tell you around the office, and this is a compliment, we refer to you as the click and clack of Amazon.
Oh, that's a huge compliment.
That's great. I'm flattered. I'm honored.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to GeekWire. I'm GeekWire co-founder Todd Bishop. We are coming to you from Seattle, where we get to report each day on what's happening around us in business, technology, and innovation. What happens here matters everywhere, and every week on this show, we talk about some of the most interesting and important stories and trends in the news. My colleague John Cook is off at a beach somewhere. It's midwinter break for the kids here in Seattle, and so he's not available to talk to me. And I have to tell you, when I got to thinking about who I would want to talk with most on this week's show, our guests this week came to mind. They were top of my list. Unfortunately, they said yes. Michael Levin and Josh Lowitz are the co-founders of Consumer Intelligence Research Partners. Mike and Josh, it's great to have you both here.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Likewise, I'm elated that you have those kind words for us.
So you both, as folks who follow the GeekWire podcast may know, because this is your third appearance on the show.
Is it that many? Oh, wow.
Yes, it is.
After 5, do we get the silk jackets? The silk
Exactly. Tom Hanks shows up at your door. But Josh and Mike study consumer behavior through actual honest-to-goodness surveys, and they research and they develop insights for investors and industry leaders that way. They publish a great Substack newsletter on Amazon that I'm a paid subscriber to, and I highly recommend. They also have an Apple newsletter as well that they put out, which is also excellent. Okay, one of the things that you recently wrote about in your Amazon newsletter was the speed of Amazon delivery and the way that that's impacting how Amazon thinks about things like grocery stores, physical grocery stores,
That's
which
right.
they just closed. So I want to talk to you about that. But before we do that, it's actually important for us to start a little clock running because I have an experiment for us.
All right.
Are you both familiar with Amazon Now? I'm sure you are.
There used to be an app that was Amazon Now, but now there's New Now.
Was it Prime Now and now it's Amazon Now? Is that the difference?
I think you're right. I'm looking at my legacy apps.
So this is a 30-minute or less delivery service.
Right. Yeah.
It's launched only in, I believe it's like test markets in Philadelphia.
Two markets or something. Yeah, right.
Yeah, Philadelphia and Seattle.
Well, Seattle would be a natural.
Right. We love it when they test stuff in Seattle.
Right.
So here's my idea. We're going to have a conversation, but before we do, let's do an Amazon Now order. And I'm here at the GeekWire offices in the Fremont neighborhood. I've put a sign on the door down there saying deliveries upstairs.
Okay, good.
So let's see if it shows up. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. All right, there's our Amazon Now. And regular listeners of the GeekWire podcast will know that I have to order Scope Oral-B flossers, given the running gag on the show.
Okay.
If you're not familiar with this, just go back a few episodes. Alexa misquoted my price on this product. So I'm going to order those. Okay, I added that to the checkout. And I'm thinking...
Is 98107 your zip? Let's just double check that we're in the right place. 31 minutes?
It is,
okay.
yes.
Okay,
yes, so I'm in the browser. I just selected the flossers. It says 31 minutes to 98107. So I want to add one other thing, and then I want to get your advice on what to put in. So I'm going to say, I might be a little parched 30 minutes in, so let me get some sparkling water. All right, so that's another. What else should I get?
Let's get something perishable to test.
Get
the
some
system.
apples or something, or get some...
Something that needs refrigeration.
Okay, so tell me why you're saying that.
There's a big move that Amazon is investing in to get perishables into their same day distribution centers. So that's amazing because it used to be when you wanted yogurt, you had to place either a fresh order or a Whole Foods order. Now you can order batteries and add on yogurt. That's amazing. However, personal experience would suggest, and I don't think we're alone, it feels like it's at an experimental phase. So Amazon hasn't truly put refrigerated stuff in the same warehouses everywhere. Now, this is a test with a 30-minute, because often we're hearing people are getting their batteries and their bananas in separate deliveries. So 2 people show up at the door, and those are generally 3 to 8 hour deliveries, but same day.
Yeah, get some. Do you have yogurt or something? Do you eat yogurt?
Yogurt. Okay, so you would want it to be refrigerated. I added Honeycrisp apples and blueberries, but let me do yogurt.
Great, that's probably
I
perfect. That's probably perfect.
Okay, well let's
get
see.
one more thing just so we know that something that definitely needs refrigeration.
I like plain Greek yogurt personally.
Well, that's right
something
there.
I like. I like to put a
You're
little honey in there.
guy.
So.
It looks like, are you?
Not really, but I'm usually the
Are you a
other
Faye guy?
brand that I can't remember.
Or you can get 365.
Is it Athenos? Is that the right? Yeah, let's get 365.
Yeah,
let's
right.
do that.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you
All
can
right.
do the Whole Foods store brand.
Okay. So tip, let's be generous. We're on the show. I'm going to bill it to GeekWire. We'll do a 20% tip.
And there is a delivery fee for this. So
Yes. Let's see.
it's a $3.99 delivery
figure
fee.
it out.
And I think once you got over $10 or something, you waived or $15, it waived a $1.99 small order fee.
So for people who are listening to the audio and not seeing the screen, it's $35.13 for 5 items, plus a $3.99 delivery fee, estimated tax of $2.25, and I added a 20% tip. So that's
For the driver.
$7.
Okay, great.
For the driver.
And what happens, Josh? What happens if there's 2 different drivers? Do they split the tip?
I'm pretty sure that for this 30-minute thing, it's going to have to come with one driver. I just don't think they could logistically handle that. And the idea of having 2 drivers on the road who are both trying to meet a 30-minute schedule
that's like dangerous.
That could prove dangerous. And I wonder if 31 minutes is for any particular reason. This is Todd, you can look this up. Are there any local regulations against 30-minute delivery dating back to the Domino's days when there were auto accidents and 30-minute pizza delivery?
I have to say, I just ran into a potential glitch for this entire experiment. I actually added our office address to my address book yesterday.
Yeah.
But it's showing my home address, and I'm not seeing where to change it.
Your home and your office are both in the same zip code?
Yes.
Confusing. What about the arrow next to 98107?
The drop down.
Oh, good. You guys, look at this.
Oh, Josh is an expert at this kind of stuff. I don't know if you know that.
Here we go.
Let's see if they still will do it.
Oh, it's even faster. 26 minutes.
And the card is still there. Okay. That was an inadvertent, fascinating experiment because we just found out that they really are thinking about delivery time at a very fine level of detail.
And so I know from my reporting on Amazon now. Let me place the order, and then we can talk.
Yeah, do that. I'd
Start
like
the
to see it
clock.
show up while we're still
So
recording.
it says 25 minutes. It's 2:13 p.m. right now. This will probably not be real time. I wanted to mention to listeners just because we do a little bit of editing and condensing of the show afterward.
Yeah.
But so I do know, based on some of my reporting on Amazon now, that the hub is in the University District, which is closer to where I am now than my home is, if that makes sense. My home is farther away from the delivery hub. So there you
6
have it.
minutes
They're actually
about.
doing, yes.
Approximately 6
Actually,
minutes
it's
closer.
just about right. It's about my commute is 6 minutes.
All right.
So what's going on here? I mean, this is where we can jump into some of the bigger picture.
This is a great question. Is that, and we've studied this for almost as long as we studied Amazon, is that they have been trying every angle on trying to do grocery. And there's reasons why, all right? Grocery, and this is the reason Walmart got into grocery. I mean, 25 whatever years ago. Grocery is something that is a constant. And you can always, think of a cart and add stuff and so forth. Grocery that's why the goal was. This is a little incidental, but grocery and pharmacy are the two kind of things that consumers are just habitually needing. And those are kind of the anchors for all sorts of other retailing and consumer behavior things. So that's why Amazon was always trying to figure out what to do with fresh and with whatever, perishables, non-perishables, the whole thing. Well, Amazon has essentially completely redefined retailing in some important ways, where the whole habit of getting people to create a big old cart and throw household goods in it and apparel, which is kind of what Walmart was trying to do, is less necessary. So essentially the idea that you can ship stuff And like what we're about to hopefully find out, that there's, within 30 minutes, you can get 3 things that you needed, or in our case, 5, kind of rewrites the whole idea of making a trip to the grocery store and having a list and kind of bulking stuff in there. And you see what I'm saying?
It's like the instant gratification of shopping. It's like the dopamine of shopping.
Amazon is a convenience store. It's not a grocery store. Go ahead, Josh.
And Amazon uses their logistic wizardry to make you more efficient. So when you place 3 different orders across a day or two, in those cases, we talked before about how these same day orders, sometimes you have multiple deliveries to make what you thought was one purchase. But in general, across Amazon, they're very good at bundling your orders. So you can think, I ordered toilet paper and I ordered vacuum cleaner bags and I ordered something over the past couple of days. And lo and behold, one box comes and they've figured out that was you and that was one order. They've actually gone public with that a little bit. And I don't know if you've noticed this, our active Amazon shoppers. There's now, you can add to that order for X hours or minutes sign. And it's a very funny thing because it's a consumer behavior trick, I think. And I'm not suggesting anything nefarious, but they always could do that. They always were doing that. In fact, they always kept, metaphorically, they didn't tape up your box at the end of the order. They taped up your box at the last minute they could tape it up, and they'd toss in whatever else you ordered if there was still time to get it in before they taped the box. So they're just telling you now, remember, we have an open box. So if you're going to stay home for delivery or whatever, that would be worth it. There's another little trick here, which is they've taken a tiny speed bump out of those add to orders because they don't make you reconfirm the address or the payment method. So that's a true one-click purchase. And that's good that's convenient for the customer. And it's really good for Amazon because there's 0 cart abandonment at that point because you clicked once.
I've noticed that. And the other thing I've noticed is that they are offering groceries perishable on kind of an interstitial screen as part of the checkout process when I go to buy shampoo or something unrelated.
That's this crossing of the same day delivery, same day delivery sites. And that's where I think if you've experimented with it, you probably were still getting 2 deliveries. But Amazon is testing it, and then they'll integrate the logistics so it'll come together.
So what's going on here in terms of the overall picture? Because you two have written about this on your Substack. Yeah. Amazon just recently closed all of its Amazon
all
Fresh
the retail
stores.
Yeah, right.
Amazon Go. Basically, they're just pretty much left with Whole Foods at this point.
There's a couple of trends that were converging here. First was, Amazon as a business is always really into and good at experimenting and was never hesitant to spend money on experiments. So a lot of the retail stores in some respects were just a bunch of experiments, and they kind of, figured out what they needed to learn, like how the different carts work or how to stock things and so forth. And the experiments had kind of run their course. So that was, one thing that was going on. Another was they realized, this is our sense from looking at how consumers are viewing this, they realized that their business, their retail business, doesn't really depend, outside of Whole Foods, which they acquired, doesn't really depend on physicality as much as it used to. So we've looked at this for a long time. Something, well north of 90% of Amazon purchases are just delivered. Okay, they have lockers to your, not only delivered to your house, not to your workplace. It's all to your house. So they really didn't need a lot of physical retail in order to serve their customers, to keep their customers happy. And, there's other factors that kind of worked into that. This is an artifact of the fact that they, were able to do delivery that fast. Well over half of orders now are same day or one day deliveries. at least based on what the customer requests when they place the order. And that's up from, under 20 or even 10%. I can't remember the number, a really low percentage, like as little as 5 years ago. So they basically substituted this logistics operation for having a physical retail operation. So they looked at all this real estate and so forth, and, they're happy to, not have to deal with all that, and said that, okay, logistics is where we're working well, not necessarily, figuring out where to put a location, negotiating a lease, doing the maintenance on it. Physical locations aren't cheap.
And their grocery stores were not particularly inspiring.
No, that's right.
They were
cold and dark.
Yeah, the things they invented may have been more interesting to engineers in Seattle than they were to shoppers in Chicago or wherever else. So while other grocers and, sort of the famous grocers have these lush and romantic produce departments, Amazon had a very efficient produce department in the fresh store. It was neat, but it wasn't.
It didn't entice you.
It wasn't an emotional experience. So now, I will give them credit. However, there was lots to be afraid of when they bought Whole Foods. There was a lot of, and I think that there must have been people at Amazon headquarters who walked around like, oh God, we just can't screw up Whole Foods. That brand stands for something. And can you imagine how mad people will be if we screw up Whole Foods? And I think, I wasn't a Whole Foods shopper. I'm probably a little more of one now. I think if anything, they've made them happier, because I think it took a little while, but I think the pricing is a little sharper. It's a little more accessible now, but I don't think that it lost its reason for existing. It's organic, fresh, close to the farm, whatever feel. The Amazon Fresh stores never had anything that made you think like, oh man, that's my favorite place.
Think of the grocery stores that people are into. There's Trader Joe's has its mystique, and Aldi has its mystique. Those are the two that come to mind.
Costco.
Costco's got a whole shopping mystique, and it's a grocery store in some respects. There's a bunch of locals. Even the big national chains have sort of appealed to them in ways that Amazon just couldn't quite capture. But they decided they didn't need it because their logistics, and they're also, don't forget that this is also an unbelievably data-driven retailer. They're able to, serve their customers and understand their customer base without having big retail stores, and retail stores are a hassle.
I agree with you. I would go to the Amazon Fresh store up in Aurora Avenue up here in Seattle. And I know you two are not
I know what you're talking about.
Denizens, but it's, let's just say, not the most savory place in the, in the city.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, though, I liked having that there because of returns. That is the place where I'm going to miss Amazon Fresh. I miss having the Amazon Fresh pickup experimental site that we used to have here in Ballard. It was right up the street from me. And it actually makes me a little more hesitant as a shopper to just buy things willy-nilly on Amazon, because I know it's going to be a bit of a hassle to return.
But you can return at Whole Foods. You can return at Kohl's. Most Kohl's you can do returns at. You can return.
Whole Foods
lockers all over the place, right?
If Whole Foods is on the other side of the bridge,
I know
for me.
I remember that. So, but Whole Foods is a mile from my house. I never shop there, but I return there a lot.
It seems to me that they're taking a calculated risk here, in that having a smaller retail footprint also means less infrastructure for returns, which can also have an impact on consumer psychology. Is that a stretch?
Not at all.
You're right about that, but living in Chicago and Seattle, we have an unrealistic view of that, because they decreased their return convenience by 100% for some people in Seattle and some people in Chicago and a few other places, but they closed 50 stores or whatever. They did, they didn't take away the most convenient return method for 25% of their customers, not even 5% of their customers, probably. The other piece of the Amazon grocery experiment was just walk out technology as seen first in the Go stores and then in some Amazon Fresh stores,
Right.
and the Dash Cart,
Yes.
which I believe now is Dash Cart 3.0. So Just Walk Out, super convenient at an airport, a college campus, a hospital, and I know that there are some in downtown Seattle. But Just Walk Out technology, it was more interesting as a science experiment than as a retail experience. So the idea that you didn't get your receipt when you left the store was really problematic.
Disconcerting.
Yeah, disconcerting. And I think that ultimately led to them just removing it from all Amazon Fresh grocery stores, because I think it was kind of an unacceptable customer experience. Interestingly, though, I think that it helped them when customers complained about Just Walk Out technology. I think it helped them make the Amazon Dash Cart better. So the Dash Cart now becomes a really, actually, I haven't used a 3.0 cart, which is bigger and holds more bags and whatever, scanner and scale. It's actually, if Just Walk Out was easy because you didn't have to wait in line or do anything, but the information vacuum was terrible, the Dash Cart flips that around and gives you decent to excellent convenience, because you still can just walk out, although you've been scanning your stuff as you do it. But it's super informative because on screen, you know what you've spent at any given moment. And there's none of that, oh man, I really wanted to spend, $80 on this trip, and I'm going to unbuy the cherries at the checkout counter. No, you know where you are. So they've used this to learn. And I think we're going to see Dash Carts deployed probably across the Whole Foods universe. And Mike and I had a conversation about this. I would not go to Kalshi or Polymarket to bet that there will never, ever be an Amazon grocery store again.
In other words, you think there could be, and perhaps even likely will be, an Amazon grocery store again?
I think I'll only go as far as could be, but I wouldn't want to lose a bet because Amazon buys another big grocery chain, for example.
Interesting.
Or a medium-sized one.
Or a medium-sized grocery chain.
Their experience with acquiring, improving, and then these days integrating Whole Foods was probably sufficiently positive that there may be some other niche, some other regional chain or something like that they might find interesting.
Okay, and we also know that they have some big plans for a much bigger store.
Yes.
And that is still on the books. So let's talk about that when we come back. You're listening to GeekWire, and we will be right back. Welcome back. It's Todd Bishop. I'm talking this week with Mike Levin and Josh Lowitz. They are the co-founders of Consumer Intelligence Research Partners, or CIRP. They study consumer behavior through surveys, and they have a real specialty in Amazon and Apple and consumer behavior. So Mike and Josh, just let's check in on our Amazon order. It's saying it's going to arrive by 2:38. So we're 7 minutes, T-minus 7 minutes away.
Okay.
Is it counting down on your screen? Does it say?
No, it just says arriving by 2:38. I can track the package. It's got the name of the delivery driver.
It's a good sign.
And I am the next stop. The driver is currently going south on Aurora Avenue. Past 45th, I can see the driver moving on the map.
Okay. Wow.
Toward us.
This is going to be great.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So as I teased before we went to the break, Amazon is still planning to proceed with this superstore concept.
Yeah, they are.
This is in your neck of the woods.
It's in Orland Park, Illinois, which is an affluent, newer suburb here. It's growing like a weed.
Yeah, major Chicago, retail hub.
Is it
huge retail, like the big mall,
like the Bellevue of Chicago?
Yeah, kind of a little bit.
Yeah,
big regional mall that back in the day had 5 anchor stores: Macy's, Sears, JCPenney, all of it.
Lots of affluent subdivisions got built there, so it's nice.
Yeah, Costco, Kohl's, grocery stores, everything along a couple of major streets, and they're at a very important intersection of those major streets.
This location is going to be more than 225,000 square feet.
It's this massive building, yes.
Which makes it larger than the average Walmart supercenter.
Yes.
What have you heard about this? What do you think's going on here?
What we know there was some reporting. I didn't go past the reporting, but the reporting was based on what Amazon had needed to file with the village. Okay, so there's a bunch of building specs and some renderings and drawings and so forth. It seems to be a combination of a big old retail store and also possibly some form of a fulfillment center. I think that's what
that's what it sounds like, and it sounds like, given that it's a retail location, and the village prides itself on its retail and being customer friendly, they weren't looking for a giant Amazon warehouse at the corner of, I think, 159th and LaGrange Road. So,
right.
So it's got to have some retail operation. They do suggest that there will be dedicated driving space for delivery drivers separate from consumers, but it's a big mystery, to be perfectly honest. And
Amazon isn't. They're not commenting. They haven't. I don't think they've disclosed anything themselves about this.
No,
hold on a second.
No,
okay, hold that thought.
I put the sign on the door. It says it's delivered. Here, hold that thought for a sec.
Okay.
All right. Let me go get it because I don't want to screw up the time. Okay, just a sec. Be right back.
All right. Let's see what happens here. This is great.
This would be 21 minutes.
This is a live order from Amazon Fresh. Oh my! And here he is. I think.
Whoa.
Here it is.
21 minutes.
I didn't even. The driver was so sneaky. I usually I can hear the fence creak. I was counting on being able. I was going to call him in and say, "Hey, you're on the podcast."
Okay, now
they
open
were
the
so
bag.
fast.
Did they get the order right?
He's got. Okay. He couldn't come in. He's got another delivery to make.
Yeah, he's got places to go.
So wait a second. It's 2:35.
It was fast. It was 22 minutes.
This Amazon says 19 minutes. It sounds like it was out there for a couple minutes. Okay, here we go. We got Greek yogurt, organic, plain.
365, right? They got the
Whole Foods 365. Blueberries.
Nice.
Put them in the yogurt.
Yeah, there you go. All right. 1 Honeycrisp apple.
1 apple.
Beautiful.
Pellegrino. I got a Pellegrino. I'll have that in a minute.
I thought there were 5 items. What was the 5th item?
5 Well,
wait.
Of course.
The floss.
Oral-B. Glide,
he got it.
Scope Outlast flossers. I got them. Finally, Amazon got the flossers right.
This is
very exciting.
Man, 19 minutes. This is a GeekWire podcast first.
But this is okay. You got this, Todd, possibly faster than if you had left your desk, gotten in your car, and gone to the nearest. Well, you said the Whole Foods is on the other side of the bridge. So
there's a Fred Meyer.
Yeah.
Wonderful chain. The kind of chain that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah,
Mike.
right.
Sometimes my daughter and I will go, it's kind of a boring Saturday afternoon. Let's go to the Fred Meyer.
Let's go to Fred Meyer and see what's going on. You're right.
So there's one just literally, I would say less than half a mile away. I don't think I could have gotten there in my car, shopped the aisle. No chance. Checked out.
There was stuff from the produce department and stuff from the refrigerator.
From dairy.
You were all over. Right, dairy. You were all over the place. You would have been all over the place.
This is a testament. Look, and we joke about it, and we kind of muse. This is unbelievable that this could happen this way. And don't forget, you were kind of futzing around on the app for a while to figure out the right address and so forth, but that.
It still didn't add up to much time. And obviously, once you do this, you can reorder it very easily, and you trust them. So,
right.
So,
and they got the order right. It was exactly what you ordered.
They got the order right. And I also paid almost $50 for 5 relatively cheap items, right?
Your tip was you
yeah.
spent $10 on tip and shipping. Or a little more.
That's true.
Yeah.
Or
that's
more,
true.
11.
Yeah, 11 maybe, yeah.
Yeah, it's a trade-off. I mean, I would not
yeah.
want to do this. This would not be my normal shopping routine.
Right, but if you're in the middle of a recipe and you're up to your elbows in something and you need some yogurt for something and all you have is sour cream,
Yeah. And the Amazon
This is a
people,
way to get it.
Yeah, the Amazon people, their examples are always, as I put my kid to bed, they told me, oh, and we need to bring the cookies tomorrow to school,
Right.
or, I need a poster board or whatever it is. Though that's always their example. This is a very viable solution to that, as opposed to putting your kid in bed and then driving to Target.
So before we were so rudely interrupted by our Amazon,
so graciously,
graciously, you were explaining to me the significance of this store in Orland Park.
So we've described the store as far as we can understand it.
Right, and just to go back, I hear what you're saying. It's like it's a fulfillment center with a retail store up in front. There's a mullet joke in here somewhere.
I got some news for you. There's 5,000 Walmart stores around the country today that are kind of like that are retail stores, but are also sort of maybe a little fulfillment centers. Walmart didn't build them as fulfillment centers, and they're suffering for that. But they are both places where consumers go and show up and buy stuff. For Walmart, it's a lot of ordering on the Walmart.com app and then picking up the groceries that they ordered. But there's also some fulfillment that's going on. And again, the fulfillment is sometimes with drivers, not as much with drivers. So there's possibly a little bit of Walmart envy going on here with Amazon, which is a little interesting. I would not have guessed that their next big announcement would have been a 200,000+ square foot location in an affluent Chicago suburb. So
it's further complicated by just not knowing what goes in the store. In the 1990s, when Walmart said we're going to put groceries into our Walmart stores, people were like, "Hey, am I going to really buy, home furnishings or clothes and pick up eggs?" And we learned to, basically. Amazon now has further complicated that because they may or may not want to put groceries in it because they're not in the grocery business. They're not in the physical grocery store business anymore. So that's a huge problem. And then we have the question of like, what is an Amazon assortment? And in Chicago, we also live this, Chicago, a northern suburb, Wilmette, has the first Wayfair store. And
cool.
What does a Wayfair store mean? And they've made it, it's a furniture store, but it's still kind of confusing. So for Amazon, where they have the proverbial infinite aisle when you're scrolling through your options, where do they stop? How do they decide what belongs there? And then furthermore, and I'm going to answer my question in a second, furthermore, 60% of their product is sold by third-party sellers. So are they going to inventory third-party seller goods on shelves in stores? That seems like a big stretch. It's contrary to the who owns what thing. The answer lately for Amazon has been, our data is so good, we'll know what to do. As is evidenced by the fact their data is so good, they knew what they needed. The stuff you bought was not like some crazy random selection. That really could have been what you wanted and needed. And it showed up. It was. And it showed up in 20 minutes.
Certainly, especially the dental floss.
But they knew to have dental floss and blueberries and yogurt. So they actually, they're very good at knowing what stuff to have where, when. And that has led to that makes fast shipping possible. And then we may have talked about this once before. They love fast shipping because it means it was cheaper for them too. Because the shorter distance the goods travel once they're packed for you, the less it costs them to deal with them.
All right, Mike and Josh, coming up later on in the show, before we end, I actually want to bring back a feature that was very popular at the GeekWire live show last week, which was trivia. I've worked up a question about Amazon just for you. Welcome back. It's Todd Bishop. I'm talking this week with Mike Levin and Josh Lowitz. They are the co-founders of Consumer Intelligence Research Partners. They study Amazon and Apple and consumer behavior. So before we end here, I was kind of inspired last week. We did a live show at Fremont Brewing here in Seattle. Cool. It was really fun. John and I, and we had about 60 or 70 people there in the audience. Everybody was really raucous, and I'm sure it was our content and not the beer at all. No, not at all. But at the end, we did a trivia contest, and everybody had a great time, and it made me realize we need to bring this back to the GeekWire podcast, we used to have different trivia things at the end. So I'll set this up here, and maybe we can get a theme song at some point. But this week, Doug Harrington, the CEO of Amazon Worldwide Stores, launched his own podcast. And it's called Learn and Be Curious, which aficionados of the Amazon leadership principles will know is, in fact, one of Amazon's leadership principles, learn and be curious. So a good name for Doug's podcast. And I was joking with somebody at Amazon that I can't wait for Andy Jassy's new podcast, Disagree and Commit. That would be the one.
Great.
Which of course
and he did, that was not his principle. Those are all Bezos learnings.
Exactly.
But anyway,
exactly. So here's my trivia question for you.
Are we a team or are we competing?
Whichever you want. It's kind of a free for all. This is how we did the show.
Team.
You know. Yeah. It's okay. You are a team. You're not competitors.
Hard for us to collaborate.
All right.
Not to collaborate.
So we know that learn and be curious and disagree and commit are two leadership principles. Which of these four phrases, I'm going to have four multiple choice options for you. Yes. Which of these phrases does not appear in Amazon's leadership principles? A, thinking small is a self-fulfilling prophecy. B, leaders do not believe their or their team's body odor smells of perfume. C, leaders obsess over competitors and customers equally. Or D, no task is beneath them, referring to leaders. No task is beneath them. So again, you have A, thinking small is a self-fulfilling prophecy. B, leaders do not believe their or their team's body odor smells of perfume. C, leaders obsess over competitors and customers equally. Or D, no task is beneath them. Which of these phrases does not appear in Amazon's leadership principles?
I have my guess, Josh. But before I share, go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, go on.
Before I share that, before you and I confer to figure out what we think it is, I'm wondering, is the one that I think it is that does not fit? Did Todd write that one? Because that would be really kind of resourceful. So what do you think?
I did write the one. I did write.
Okay,
the
great.
one.
You did write.
And I will say, this is a tricky. I don't want to say to the listeners out there, this is a tricky one.
What do you think, Josh?
I think
let's eliminate them.
I think C and D are both probably in it. That's leaders obsessed,
absolutely,
and no task is beneath. I think so. Because it feels tricky, I'm thinking that thinking small is the one that's not in it because the body odor one seems so outrageous. But
that would be kind of like on brand for Amazon or for Amazon's leadership, maybe.
Well,
because my instinct was the perfume one.
Yeah, but so Todd, can we ask some clarifying questions? Were these leadership principles written in 20 plus years ago, or is this an evolving document?
Well, this is the basic stuff. This has been this was in the Everything Store book, I think. And you have that on your desk, Josh. I know you do.
I could cheat.
The core leadership principles, I think there were 14 originally.
Yeah, there was a whole bunch. One of them was the pizza rule and so forth. So yeah.
I don't know if that was actually codified in the leadership principles. And you kind of get, it's kind of you go into the gospel and then the other books kind of thing at Amazon. And this is the gospel.
I am pretty sure. I am okay. I'm going to have to guess, Josh. I'm going to have to disagree with you.
Okay.
It was the perfume one. That seems just crazy. That
Bezos
and Jassy would talk about someone's perfume not being offensive to oneself. But I don't know.
And I'm going to go with small, just so it's a game. Thinking small.
So just so we're clear, so
I'm A and Mike's B.
Mike is saying
I said B is the one that was not part of it. I think that B is the one that you wrote, and Josh thinks that A is the one that you wrote.
Leaders do not believe that their or their team's body odor smells of perfume. Thinking small is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Thank you for playing along, but you're both wrong.
That makes it more fun.
Okay, so first I'll tell you, just so you have it, this is the principle under earn trust. Leaders listen attentively, speak candidly, and treat others respectfully. They are vocally self-critical, even when doing so is awkward or embarrassing. Leaders do not believe their or their team's body odor smells of perfume.
That's okay. Wow.
Okay.
They benchmark themselves and their teams against the best. Okay, so in fact, B was correct. It is part of a leadership principle. Okay, thinking small is a self-fulfilling prophecy, is also there. That's under the principle of think big.
Right.
The other one that was legit is no task is beneath them. That's under dive deep.
We should have gotten it because the word obsess is not a good word for a.
Well,
or does it appear elsewhere?
The answer, in fact, was the phrase that does not appear in Amazon's leadership principles is leaders obsess over competitors and customers equally. That was the catch.
Because Amazon's all customer-centric.
Customer-centric.
Customers, right.
So under customer obsession, it says leaders start with the customer and work backwards. They work vigorously to earn and keep customer trust. Although leaders pay attention to competitors, they obsess over customers.
Oh, that's really funny.
Thank you for playing.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. That was very clever.
That's a good game show because you could play along and we learned something.
Hey, Mike and Josh, before we wrap up here, we kind of bounced all over the place in part because of our Amazon delivery. Anything big picture that you would want to share specific to the logistics? What would be your takeaway about this moment in time for where Amazon is in terms of grocery delivery, logistics, retail stores? What are your thoughts?
I'm going to repeat something that we have said before in our research and our writing, which is Amazon is perfecting what it means to be a convenience store. They've totally rewritten so much of retail. They set out to make returns different. The whole rating system makes it so much easier to buy something without ever feeling it. Okay? The whole idea of fast delivery really kind of flies in the face of how people used to shop, when catalogs are online and so forth. But they have, and I don't think they're done. We just talked about it with this big warehouse fulfillments or whatever it is. They keep on trying to rethink how consumers want to fulfill their material needs through shopping, in some way. And there's probably more to come, I think. We have a lot of respect for it.
I completely agree. I think that history has proven that their investments in logistics are working. And I wouldn't expect them to take their foot off the gas at all. They're not scared of making mistakes. And in relative terms, the mistakes are a lot of money in absolute terms, but in Amazon terms, they're relatively small compared to the money that gets invested in the successes.
And they learn from their mistakes in just very constructive ways.
Two last points here. I meant to bring this up earlier. Just this week, we learned that Amazon outsold Walmart in 2025 to become the world's largest company by revenue.
Revenues are bigger. Yeah, but that was, I think, corporate.
That's corporate. So that includes Amazon Web Services. It's not a direct retail-to-retail comparison. Yes. But Amazon's revenue exceeded Walmart's for the first time in 2025.
They're
whatever
they're
that's
higher
worth.
Up on the fortune list or whatever you want to put them.
And to the point of what you both just said, leadership principle number whatever, I don't know which one this is, but it's invent and simplify. Leaders expect and require innovation and invention from their teams and always find ways to simplify. As we do new things, we accept that we may be misunderstood for long periods of time. And boy, I think you see that in the grocery, the delivery, the logistics. Right. Mike Levin and Josh Lowitz are co-founders of Consumer Intelligence Research Partners. I will link to your Substacks and your research. Thank you both for joining me.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having us.
Curt Milton edited this episode. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm Todd Bishop. We'll be back next week with a new episode of the GeekWire podcast.